When you talk to couples, money is one of the things that is one of the biggest causes of stress and fracture in families. So, why are we not talking more about how we can have healthier conversations around money and better relationships around money with our spouses? Welcome, guys. I'm Dr. Latifat, founder of MoneyFit MD. We help women physicians live a life of wealth, freedom, and optionality. We want you to have money and we want you to have the life that you love. And I don't think that's too much to ask for. So, one of the things that I have done over the last 6 years is starting MoneyFit MD is help women physicians have more money. And one of the things that I'm seeing is this. And this is not happening in isolation. In fact, there was a report, I think it was by McKinsey, that mentioned that there is a wealth transfer that's happening. And by 2030, about 30 something percent of assets are going to be in the control of women. And as I'm speaking with more and more women physicians, I am seeing that many of them are leading the home when it comes to their finances. And there is data that if you want to change communities, you put money in the hands of women. And part of the reason why we are so going all in with serving women physicians is really because we want you to be the wealth leaders that you are supposed to be. We want you to not just have money, but be able to grow generational wealth, have generational impact, raise your family well, not just in terms of the principles around wealth only, but also around the values that matter to you. And this is one of the reasons why you will find me saying that no physician should work full time. No woman physician should work full time. I don't care what anybody and their mama said. And the reason why is there is benefit of having time and space to think, to rest, to retreat, to date your spouse, to teach your kids, to look up resources, to take a freaking deep breath. There is data now that shows that in most areas, in the general population, women outlive men, except in medicine. Imagine that. Women outlive men, except in medicine. That's a problem. And so if we are going to be coming into potentially more economic power, we need to be the CEOs of our finances. But then sometimes I can start to cause some sort of stress in the family about if you did not grow up in a home that had wealth, in a home where, maybe the woman was a primary breadwinner or responsible for steering the wheels of where our wealth goes in the family, you can see how you can start to struggle a little bit about where am I? How do I play this role? And guys, I'm going to be honest with you. There are many posts that I see on social media that sometimes the answers blow my mind. I'm like, shoo, I'm glad I'm not asking for advice on random Facebook groups about relationship, because I would be way broken up with my spouse, right? And the reason why is there's no one size fits all, but I think there's need for wisdom when it comes to this conversation. So in this episode today, what I want to share with you are 5 questions that I believe could open the door for improved conversation, some transparency, and also learning where things are with your spouse earlier than later. I cannot tell you how many times I see women physicians go through divorce and go, I did not know he had debt. I did not know I had debt. I thought he was in charge of the finances. I thought he was doing okay. He has a master's degree in MBA. I thought it would be better. It was better. No one taught me. I assumed it would be good at it. And what that leads to is a lot of shock, surprise, disappointment. And you've seen the data that women physicians were actually at higher risk for divorce. About a third or so of the women that come into our wealth village have gone through divorce or they're single. There's nothing wrong with that. But the bottom line that I'm trying to share with you guys is that we need to start to have more of this nuanced conversation. In fact, when inside of the wealth village, which is our 12-month community for women physicians that are growing and stewarding wealth, that want to have a life of freedom and choice, one of the things that they get access to is a training, a module really, on 7-figure relationships. And this is where I've interviewed women that I admire, women that I see that are thriving in their relationship and in wealth building and being co-partners with their partner. And that's why those conversations are important. So if you're someone that you're looking for a community where these conversations are happening, go to moneyfitmd.com/wealth village. Look up the information. There's an application, submit it, and we'll evaluate and see if you're someone that would benefit from our community. So I want to share these 5 questions real quickly. And many times, by the way, when we talk about money, people think it's all about money only. It's all about money. It is not all about money. It's about money. It's about wealth. It's about life. It's about freedom. In fact, I remember a woman physician who came into our world in the wealth village, and before she joined, she was like, Latifat, I don't talk to my spouse about money much because it always ends up in an argument. Guys, a year and a half or so later, she's like, we have so much conversations about money and wealth. Like, we're no longer fighting about money. So it is possible regardless of where you're starting from. So here are some questions that I think would be good conversation starters or just part of conversations. And you could have these conversations like chill environment on a day, like a money date, whether you're doing like a weekly date or monthly money date with your spouse. These are conversations that I promise will help you have fun, but also productive conversations. By the way, I'm recording this on a week where my husband and I were celebrating our 14th year anniversary. I am not an expert, but I've learned a lot. And I have to say that I am so glad that I picked the person that I did. I am not who I was. He is not who he was. But one of the things that I'm grateful for is because there's so much evolution of us, we have continued to stay intimate, have conversations, hold space so that we can continue to know who we are both becoming. Because what you don't want is to keep thinking about the person you married 15 years ago when you are not the same person. They're not the same person. So that's why, like, when it comes to relationships, this is all part of wealth. In fact, it's one of the arms of wealth that we talk about and teach inside of the wealth village. So one question that I want you to ask your spouse is, again, make it light, make it fun, is this a life? Like, when you pictured your life in future, is this what you pictured? Like, what part of this is what you pictured and what part of it is not? And if there's any way you could make it richer, and when I say richer, it's like qualitatively richer, like enjoyably richer, like what would you do? And you may be surprised by the questions or the answers that come up. And again, I want you to have this in a chill environment. This is not a conversation you have when you're like mad at each other or you're like cranky. No, this is like you go on a date, you hang out after the kids are in bed. You have your glass of water, glass of wine, water, lemonade, whatever it is y'all people be drinking these days, and just like take a deep breath. In fact, what I found is that the more intimate we become, the less TV we actually watch, because we'd rather talk to each other than like watch TV, right? Right? So, okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is this. If you've been around my world, you know that I live my life with the end in mind. Does not mean that everything I imagine is going to be, but I live with intentionality about the future. And one of the emotions that I respect is regret. I want to try my best to decide what the biggest things that I don't want to regret is. And so this question, number 2 question, is what is one thing that if you did not do in this lifetime, you would look back and regret? And that's a way of finding out what actually matters to your spouse and what matters to you. So you're asking the question, but you're also answering the question as well. And it's a good way to start to identify your values in that season. So for example, I'll tell you guys one of mine, and I still haven't done it yet, and I'm going to, God willing. When Sheila and I got married, we got married in Nigeria. We had like this big party. We had like 1,000 people in there. It was like crazy, like freaking carnival, right? And for us, that was how we chose to get married, because we wanted to do it for our family. That was our gift to them. I mean, we just we just want to get married. There's so much drama. We just want, like, our win is we're allowed to get married, right? The rest of the win is for y'all's. And Sheila's mom and my dad are both late now, unfortunately, but it was great to just give them that opportunity to celebrate with their party people. My mom is thankfully alive. I'm grateful for that, for long life for her. But yeah, so we did that. So one of the things that I want to do is, I've always thought That was for them. I'm going to do mine. Like, I want to do something that I want, like a marriage, a wedding ceremony of a celebration that fits my vision. The problem is I don't have a clear vision about what that is. And anytime we're trying, I'm like, do I want to travel around the world or do I want to have a party with people? I'm traveling around the world, right? So it's something that I still want to do. I'm not quite sure what year yet, maybe 2027, God willing, I may. But you will start to identify what your true values are based on what you believe that you will regret or not regret. So ask your spouse that. And when you find those values, it would be good to see how can you impute this into your life, because this is part of how you create the rich life that you have. And yes, your spouse may, and of course, make wise decisions, right? If they have like a big dream that's going to cost $1 billion and you're like, my net worth is like 100K right now, it may not be the season for it. But then you can ask questions like, if we were to do this in a small scale, what would it look like? Or if we want to do it in future, well, how about this? Why don't we grow this net worth? When we get there, then we do this, and make it reasonable where it's not like when you're 99, like make it reasonable. You know what I mean? So anyways, that's another question, number 2. Number 3 one is very financial. And I do believe that it's important to have those financial conversations so that there is less hidden secrets and there is transparency with both parties. And this number 3 question is it's in two parts. Number 1 is, what is our financial net worth? Hopefully you both know your financial net worth. As if you're a family that combines your finances together, hopefully you know what your financial net worth is, and if you don't, then it's a great time to do the financial net worth. But the other question is like, how much debt do we have? It's good to look. This is not the time to blame. This is a time to know. Trust me, you'd rather know now than in 6 years from now, right? And I remember someone was sharing with me recently how the wife took out some debt for something that was a need of the family, but she did not necessarily talk to her spouse about it. And when her spouse found out, it was upset because like, oh, what's all this debt for? Why are you paying all this interest? So, but it was for the family, but there was no conversation around it. So it's important to have these conversations early so that you guys can also have a plan of attack that makes sense. When we got married, I had student debt. Sheila did not have student debt. I'm like, you marry me, you marry my debt. That's what I did. I was like, you married me, you married my dad. That was my thing. So we both focused our combined, income to like, okay, what goes to where, and how do we do this together as a family? That's what we did. May not be what you guys decide. Again, this is part of why you have these conversations so you can figure out what works for your family. And then number 5 is really important. Number 4, is important, especially if you have kids. Right? If you have kids, it's, you are bringing 2 different thought process, 2 different baggage, 2 different family styles. One spouse may be more of a spender, more maybe more of a saver. One may be more of a risk taker. One may be more of like conservative. One may be more like YOLO. The other one may be never spend. I find that most people are very, very different when it comes to their finances. And that's why the perfect for your family is usually something in between. So I've had clients where maybe the spouse just wanted to like YOLO only. And she's like, well, we got to invest. And I'm like, without you, your family will be broke. Without him, you're not going to have any fun. So the answer is somewhere in between. So how do you start to look at your spouse as an asset instead of like the anti whatever it is that you want when it comes to your finances? And this part pours into how you teach your kids about money intentionally. So I'll give you guys a very specific example about this where, my kids, we all went to go, what did we do that day? We spent the whole day. I don't remember where we had fun. And then we decided like, oh, we wanted to go catch a movie, and we like ordered food at the restaurant and at the movie theater and all this stuff, which that's fine. Like we can afford it. That's not stressful for us. However, we're teaching the kids about money and making intentional decisions and understanding the relationship between value-based spending and the things that you value. And so we had a great time. And then the next day, they were swimming and they're like, oh, we would like to get ice cream. And I found that to be a good opportunity to have a conversation about spending with them, which is like, oh, remember yesterday we went out, we like spend all day. I was like, that's great. We had a lot of fun, right? So anytime you do something like that, you want to be intentional about not continue to spend every single day. Does that make sense? So we spend a lot of money on like eating out and having fun yesterday. So today I think we should just eat the ice cream and the ice cream we have at home. So they thought about it, like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? So that was an opportunity to teach them something without it being like textbook, but using a real life circumstance right there to teach them about value based spending. Could we have bought it? Absolutely. Like it would not make an impact in our life in any way, but it's an opportunity to teach these kids, because the reason why we are where we are financially is because of the principles that we have applied. And so even though we are at a place where we can loosen the spending, whatever zippers or whatever people call it, the truth is we still want to make sure we're passing on those principles to them. And most things are caught, not taught. So if you are not being intentional about what your kids are seeing, you may be passing on bad patterns, unhelpful patterns that may be appropriate to where you are in your own net worth, but it's not appropriate to where they are in their financial knowledge. Does that make sense? So this is a time for you and your spouse to just have a conversation about like what kind of wisdom you're passing on to the kids. What is generational wisdom? Like what do you wish you had been taught? What is the one thing that you think would be a key tool that we want to make sure we pass to our kids? Like for us, grit, like GRIT, grit. Our kids have to have grit. Have their generation, I mean, I sound old, but their generation is lacking so much grit that if your kids have grit, it's going to make them stand out. So teaching them how to communicate, how to have grit, how to be safe, right? So there are specific things that we're teaching them. And so when you bring that to a conversation with your spouse, you're literally are bringing the best of both of you guys. And now you can take that and put it into your kids. That's how you like clone people that are better than one of you guys apart. So anyways, I hope these questions are helpful for you. They're meant to be chill. They're meant to be relaxing. And I'm going to add another one, which y'all going to be like, Latifat, it's cheesy. I don't care. I don't care what y'all be thinking. So this one is one that I torture my husband with. It's a torture. I've actually had him. He's been a guest inside of our Wealth Village, I think twice. Maybe once or twice. It may be time to bring him in again to come have conversations and just let people ask from the other side, from the spousal perspective. But one of the questions that I ask him is this, and this is not money directly, but this is wealth related. And, we talk about giving and all of that. Also, how much do we want to give? Are we giving enough? All of that. Those are also important conversations. This is not meant to be an all exhaustive list. But one of the things that I ask him is because I will be honest, like this actually matters a lot. The wellness of our home, the wellness of our relationship is not something that is secondary to me being a physician or a coach or a wealth strategist or an investor or whatever. No. In my mind, for me, based on my value, my number one is God. Number two is my marriage. Number three is my children. That's the order. And then everything else comes after that, right? They're all important, but that's the order that my own value. You need to figure out what your own value system is. And so for me, one of the things that I torture Sheila with is I ask him, do you still like me? Do you like me more today than when we first met 20 years ago? And he's like, babe, I love you. I'm like, no, love is required. Like is important. And that's one of the things that we continue to cultivate in our relationship is what do we need to do to like each other? How do we need to continue to play and have fun and be silly and not be too serious? But it's hard for that to be the case when you're exhausted. So that's why, again, going back to the original point that I made earlier, I am so critical when it comes to my clients of asking them to like, when are you going to work? Like, what do you want? 0.8 FTE, half day off a week, a day off every other. Like, what is that thing? And the reason why is because when you have that less time of overworking, it actually breeds wealth, wellness, less drama, less reactivity, less defensiveness in the family. And this, my dears, is also part of wealth building. So if this conversation has helped you, I want you to do me a favor and share it with other women physicians that you know need to have this conversation, need to learn and hear these things that we just talked about, how to build families that are healthy, wealthy, and connected together. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to have a life where I have all the money in the world, but I'm just alone in it. And that is regardless of whether you're married or single or whatever. But because I am married, because I have children, it is part of my responsibility to do my part as my spouse does his part as well to make sure that our home thrives in the most wealthiest way. So I love you, rooting for you. And if you haven't left us a review yet, please make sure that you do on whatever platform. If it's on YouTube, comment below. I love you. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.